eligible for a federal EV tax credit of $7,500, making current Hyundai electric vehicles ineligible. At the time, Munoz was candid about his disappointment, but the group acted quickly. Hyundai pulled forward the targeted opening date of its Meta plant from January 2025 to October 2024. Kia's West Point factory underwent a $200 million upgrade to bring assembly of its three-row EV9 and EV6 compact crossover to the US from South Korea. Munoz also said the company changed its plan to use raw materials from Europe as the criteria for eligibility of the purchase tax credit tightened to include sourcing of the raw materials inside the batteries. In addition to the on-site battery factory, Hyundai also invested $5 billion to build a facility with SK On in nearby Bartow County. Now that they are close to meeting requirements, the future of the tax credits under the Trump administration is uncertain. I think we've passed the worst for our company concerning the incentives because even though we started producing here, we were not qualified, Munoz said. Having the credits are better for the consumer, he said, but if they are eliminated then all automakers will have the same conditions. The next phase, he said, whether with or without incentives, is going to be better. Title: Canada's auto industry outraged over Trump tariffs. Content: U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to impose 25% tariffs on all imported vehicles and auto parts has Canadian industry stakeholders reeling and seeking clarity on the impact of the latest salvo in the ongoing trade war with Canada's southern neighbor. Auto executives will be poring over the details of Trump's executive order signed March 26, said David Adams, president of the Global Automakers of Canada, which represents overseas brands in Canada. We all have to wait to see the contents of the executive order, but it sounds like the tariffs would be stacked on existing tariffs. Ontario Premier plans to inflict as much pain as possible on U.S. over auto tariffs. Currently, vehicle and parts production adhering to the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement are shipped duty-free. Passenger vehicles not compliant with the USMCA are subject to a U.S. import duty of 2.5% and 25% for pickup trucks. Depending on the automaker, that could range from 25% to 50%, said Adams. The tariffs will only apply to the value of non-U.S. content in vehicles imported from Canada and Mexico that comply with the USMCA's rules. In this episode of the Ally All Ears podcast, host Emma Hancock interviews Matt Broom, Senior Director of Product Development at Ally Financial, discusses the rise in auto theft, which has increased by 25% since 2019, and the need for better theft prevention and recovery solutions. However, that USMCA-compliant content will remain tariff-free until the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, in consultation with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, establishes a process to apply tariffs to their non-U.S. content. Trump's executive order could mean the application of duties as high as 27.5% for all foreign vehicles and 50% for pickup trucks, said Adams. The U.S. will start collecting the new fees at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on April 3. On April 2, Trump will announce as yet unspecified reciprocal tariffs against U.S. international trade partners. The auto duties could cause massive ripple effects throughout global automotive supply chains already reeling from other new levies, retaliatory measures, and a lack of long-term clarity on trade policy. What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff for all cars that are not made in the United States, Trump said during a news conference at the White House. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we're at, and go to 25%. Brian Kingston, president of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, which represents the Detroit Three in Canada, said the impact will be immediate. U.S. tariffs on vehicles and parts will have immediate negative consequences for the highly integrated North American automotive industry, Kingston said in a statement. The result is higher costs for manufacturers, price increases for consumers, and a less competitive industry, he said. We continue to urge all parties that all USMCA-compliant parts, components, and vehicles be free of tariffs under that agreement. The tariffs are aimed at bolstering U.S. manufacturing and incentivizing automakers to move vehicle production to the U.S. But industry executives and analysts have warned that broad-based tariffs could quickly lead to new vehicle production cuts in North America while raising vehicle prices by thousands of dollars. Flavio Volpe, the head of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, was immediately critical of the tariffs. The President of the United States is bent on ruining the American automotive sector and its allies for reasons that no one has yet been able to understand, Volpe said. Adams said the tariffs will